the Chicago Bears, Justin Fields coming into year 2. Like, what's the vibe right now coming into camp?
I think the vibe, especially around this offense and Fields and the growth that he can make this year, is how much of that continuity are we going to start to see pay off between himself and the receivers that he does have? Because this offseason has been centered on what the team didn't do in a lot of respects to help Fields. So, what we've seen so far in the early portion of training camp and what we've heard is that, this offense is still a work in progress, and it's going to take a while. I think one of the most self-aware things that we heard from offensive coordinator Luke Getsy, who's new this year, he was in Green Bay the last couple years, and now he gets to call plays for Justin Fields, is that this scheme, which is going to help Fields because it's going to take pressure off of him by establishing a pretty consistent rushing attack, a lot of play action, a lot of bootlegs, this scheme isn't meant to make anybody better than they are. There's so few scheme-transcendent quarterbacks out there that I think it's just a rational thought of how how this thing's going to actually play out. But it's going to put the quarterback in better position to succeed within the confines of this offense. So we're starting to see the very baby steps of that play out in practices so far. The pads come on Monday, but they've made some adjustments. They just signed Riley Reif and Michael Schofield to try to shore up their offensive line because going into camp they realized it's not even adequate to where it needs to be. So they made those changes and those additions at the 11th hour, and I think that this is a team that knows, in spite of not agreeing with it and probably not talking about it internally, they know what the expectations are, but they also know they have time on their side to try to build this thing the way that they want to, which might come with some lumps this year.
Maybe will come with some lumps. I feel like Peter Burns was being really nice right there by calling this an interesting team, Courtney Cronin, because I don't know if most people necessarily on the outside looking in would say that about the Chicago Bears team, but get us excited about this Bears season. I know you haven't seen it in pads yet, but what can you take away from this first few days of camp that might get us excited for this offense or defense moving into the season?
Well, I'll go back to Fields and the continuity that he has built with his receivers, because look, going back to last year, Darnell Mooney is the only proven commodity he has at the wide receiver position. Coming off a 1,000-yard receiving season, 3 of his 4 touchdowns came from Fields. He had a great catch yesterday, a little high. The pass was thrown a little bit high, but Mooney's not very tall, so the fact that he could jump up and get this ball during 11-on-11 was, a really nice grab. And Cole Kmet, his top tight end now that Jimmy Graham is gone, I think that you can expect those two are going to be pretty active in the red zone together. And we saw those two connect on a deep ball when Kmet ran a seam route at the end of 7-on-7 yesterday. And he was talking about, that's the play that they run at the end of every private workout they've done throughout this offseason away from the facility. So it's nice, I think, if you're a Bears fan, you're starting to see those things come to fruition. But it's just all right, well, how about everybody else? They just got N'Keal Harry via a trade. You're hoping, if you're a Bears fan, that this will be the fresh start that he needs. This wide receiver room is filled with guys that are looking for that second opportunity. Byron Pringle gets the big contract after the best season of his career in Kansas City. Equinemius St. Brown was cut initially last year in Green Bay and put on the practice squad, so I feel like that's somebody who has something to prove. And certainly with Harry, too, being a former first-round pick, other guys like Tajay Sharp, Dante Pettis, they haven't been able to stick anywhere, so now they have the golden opportunity to do that and help Fields along in the process.
Courtney Cronin joining us right now, ESPN Bears reporter. And it just sucks that the Bears aren't good. Can I just say that the way it is? Because I grew up 85 Bears and watching Jim McMahon and watching Sweetness with Walter Payton, Refrigerator Perry. There are certain franchises you want to be good and they can't figure it out. The Bears being one, the Knicks, for all intents and purposes, are basically the poster child for that. So I joked around about it, Courtney, about $1 billion. But if you're fixing this team, what makes this team a contender right now that they're missing? Is it defense or is it just play from Justin Fields?
I don't know if there's anything that they can do in terms of roster additions that's going to significantly impact what the outcome of the season is going to be for them. And I say that
that's
kindly.
The most politely way of saying I could give you $1 billion and you still couldn't fix this.
Can't fix this team.
What Ryan Poles inherited was a situation that wasn't just I'm going to start to do things my way. day one. It's I've got all of this stuff I have to undo first from the previous group, the previous coaching staff, the previous front office, just to get to ground zero, and then you start building. Like they let 20-plus free agents walk away in March, and they weren't super active players in free agency. They actually had a couple missteps along the way. The Larry Ogunjobi thing blew up in their face when he failed that physical. He was supposed to be the guy they bring in as their big defensive addition at 3 technique, and that didn't work. So I think Bears fans would probably be more excited had they done more in free agency, gone after some of the big-name receivers that either wanted out of their place or were available as free agents, or done more in the draft from that respect. But for a team that had so many holes on the roster, you could throw a dart at the board, and wherever they land, it was going to at least lead them to trending in the right direction.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.